Hi, welcome to another conversation with clinician researchers. My name is Ray Thomas. I'm the Research Education Lead for the Tropical Australian Academic Health Centre known as TAAHC. Today, we're speaking with Ben Glenwright, a senior physiotherapist in acute orthopaedics in the Cairns Hospital. Welcome, Ben. Hello.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your job as a clinician. Tell us what you do.
Yep. So I'm one or two senior physios that are on the orthopaedic ward at the Cairns Hospital. We provide a 7-day service, and so I work an 8 on 6 off roster. So we then provide clinical governance and treatment to patients for not a trauma centre like down in Brizzy, but we're getting very close to that. We've got everything from spinal cord injured patients through to patients with fractured neck femurs, to elective surgeries, hips and knees, and oversee a team of about 5 staff. And yeah, it's just continues to get busier and busier.
And in all that busyness, somehow you found some kind of time to do a PhD. What were you thinking? Tell us about that.
I think it's something that's evolved over time since I think about 2029. So yeah, 2029. I started looking into implementation science when I attended an OSHI workshop about translating research into practice. So that's where I sort of got the bug and went, oh, this is something, being a clinician for over a decade, it's like I would like to make meaningful and sustainable change. I can do that on a somewhat a personal level with patients, but I wanted to make more systematic changes and saw some gaps that I could address that, and one being what my PhD has turned into, so it started out with the OSHI grants. I then saw the allied health trip sessions, so that's a translation into research for allied health practitioners. There's a statewide program where you can get peer support through a variety of sessions over a 12-month period, peer-to-peer learning. And from that, one of my supervisors sort of said, hey, Ben, do you know probably the work you're trying to do here would be better aligned with a research for a higher degree? And I was like, oh, I've never thought of studying. I'd been out 12 years going, was that clinician who's like, oh, I'm not coming back to uni. So then I decided to look into it. And yeah, it grew from there.
That's amazing. When you said you went to OSHI and you did the translation course, which are really good. OSHI does some really great courses and stuff. Was there anything that prompted you to go? Was there a moment where you thought, you obviously actively chose to do a course. Was there a moment you thought, oh, I should research this? Is there something in your life that prompted you to do this?
I think for me, I'm not one to sit back and just see things churn over like they are. And I could see at work through my endeavors through a variety of QI projects that sort of half stuck, they half work. And I was like, oh, this doesn't, it's not quite working. And what can I do more to improve my ability to apply this evidence? And I guess for me, that was getting to a bit of a pinnacle where you're understanding the evidence, but it's then going, okay, well, how do I get that into the practice? And I didn't quite know how to do that. And it was just through emails. I got the information about this 2-day OSHI workshop. And I think it spoke to me in that sense in going, oh, that might be something that could help me knowing about implementation science, which I had no idea. When I went through JCU as an undergraduate, implementation science wasn't a thing back in the early to mid 2000s. Obviously, it was in the literature, but yeah, it was coming through. So it wasn't embedded in an undergraduate program. So for me, it was this new thing. And I guess as a clinician, I'd reached a point where I was like, I need to feel like I can contribute more, didn't know how. And that sort of spoke to me at the time.
That's great. That's really cool. And I love implementation science. Yeah, it's something that I'm quite passionate about. So it's nice to hear that that passion is shared by others. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And you're right about RTRIP having some really great resources and some really great skills. And anybody who is a health practitioner in Queensland is eligible to have a look at that. So I think that's a really important resource. Thanks for reminding us about that. One of the things as a clinician researcher, one of the things we talk about is about that time constraint. How do you navigate that tightrope between clinician and research work that you do?
Yeah, I guess it's something you need to compartmentalize it a little bit, because obviously when you're employed, to do your job, so you've got to do that foremost. A lot of the high degree stuff obviously initially starts in your own time. I'm a part-time student, but then going about doing applying for grants. So it took me for good 18 months before I was able to get any successful grants. And obviously TAAHC, I was able to get the fellowship program there. And I think that then just opened up the opportunities for a balance of time. It's never a balance. I think it's an integration. And it's being a bit flexible with your time, having supportive family and friends that, allow you that time. But yeah, and just pivoting when you need to do that. But still, yeah, it's not an easy journey, but I guess if you're passionate about making that change, doing the research, you work out and compromise in places. Yeah,
I really like that idea about it. It's about integrating the time. I've never heard that. That's really cool. I think that's
yeah. I've always not found getting a balance right. So I don't think you can ever really get that balance. I think it's the integration, and it fluctuates where, your clinician work will increase, your family life increases, and then, research.
Now, a couple of people that we've had these conversations with, a couple of them, not all of them, have done, like you, have embarked on a higher research degree. Do you think you need one to do research in the health services?
No, not at all. And that's something, everyone goes, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. It's like, well, you don't have to, where it should be embedded in our, business as usual, looking at ways of improvement through projects, through quality improvement, quality assurance. So that's where, the nuts and bolts of improvement is. I guess it's building up collaboration within our health services. I think Cairns is, in that infancy towards that university, sort of where research is going to be business as usual within the organisation, where other organisations have that already embedded over time. So I think there's a movement, but it doesn't mean everyone has to do research by higher degree. You can do it the 6-month project, but it's and that's what if I reference back to RTRIP, not everyone there is doing research by higher degree. They're doing quality improvement projects where they are just translating the evidence into practice, and that's what they're trying to do to make it the norm. And there's some incredible work that gets done that you're amazed that these passionate clinicians, and they're using implementation science to embed it, so that when I refer back to my younger self and the frustrations of not being able to get change and have it stick, I think it was underpinned by not addressing those implementation science principles through the journey.
And even when you do, it's still hard, right? I mean, implementation takes such a long time. Yeah. So how do you keep motivated?
I think seeing the change. So I've done some quality improvement projects that have been quite successful in the past within my team and within the orthopedics at Cairns Hospital, and mostly the principles and everything that we set up is still embedded. So I think seeing some success, trying not to shoot too high too quickly, having good mentors around you to keep you grounded. Yeah, and I think for me, it's doing better for the patients. You know, we try our best, but I believe, you know, with that, translating the evidence, into that clinical practice is something that's very important. And I think we don't quite nail it as such, because, like I said, it's not that it's not part of our business as usual, which that's what I think. If we can translate to that within an organisation, that'd be brilliant. But that's my my opinion.
And I really like, you got some great phrases. I really like the research is business as usual. I think that should be the headline of a conference somewhere for health services. I think that's a great phrase. So if someone was to come to you and just sort of say, look, I don't know where to start, what would be some of the things that you would say to them? What do you want them to know?
I guess this is recent. I've had a younger staff member, one of my peers, come to me with, you know, identifying, hey, I've seen what you've done with some of your work. I'm interested in doing it on a smaller scale, you know, on that QI scale. And I guess the first thing you need to ask is, what is your question? So what is the problem you want to try and solve? And not looking too big. And I think I personally, and I think other allied health clinicians, we're problem solvers. We want to get in and solve the problem straight away. And we sort of, you know, run in head first and try and solve things, where I think when you're looking at something that is a bit bigger and you want to have that sustained change, you've got to structure it well. And there is some great resources out there that sort of identify, you know, what's the problem, and then looking at how you can address that through some frameworks. So knowledge to action frameworks, just some really, I would say simple or basic, but in the realms of implementation science, it gives you just that grounding. And I think, again, you know, doing a plug, because I did it, the R trip really wants to ground clinicians in that. So for that individual, they're actually on the R trip program as we speak. So I identified, they came with a problem. I said, great, this is a brilliant resource that can guide you, because it can be overwhelming. And yeah, they're on the beginning of their journey.
That's amazing. That sounds really great. And again, like, you know, that clarity, I think it can't be underestimated, knowing what is the problem you want to solve. And then having that vision. And you're quite right about, you know, maybe not rushing in thinking you know the solution, because maybe you do, maybe you don't. But no, that's fantastic. What a great journey.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
I'm excited. I'm passionate about it. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. We'll talk to you later.
My pleasure. Thank you.